Breaking tonight, despite a growing backlash, Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump is continuing to charge that we are looking at a rigged election, and he's putting the blame squarely on the media.
You see what's happening? The process is rigged. This whole election is being rigged. These lies spread by the media. We're going to make history together. Remember, it's a rigged system. It's a rigged election. It's a rigged system, and they take these lies and they put them on front pages.
In moments, we'll be joined by Trump campaign advisor Dr. Ben Carson, but we begin with our chief political correspondent, campaign Carl Cameron, who, as you saw, just spoke one-on-one with Donald Trump.
Thanks, Megan. Trump was once again on fire tonight, and he quickly rattled off a whole series of ethics reforms tonight that he says will cure the corruption that the Clinton organization has imposed on the American government. And as for his argument that there is a rigged election in the works and that there will be rampant voter fraud across the country, he acknowledged tonight that most of what he's basing this on is not what's happening right now, but what's happened in past elections. Listen.
Well, I am talking about past elections. I'm talking about recent elections, but past, because that's the ones we have to judge by. And when you look at the voter fraud, when you look at illegal immigrants voting all over the country, when you look at people that died 10 years ago, but we have voters all over the country where they're not even citizens of the country and they're voting. And you look at certain cities, I won't name them right now. I mean, they're cities I want to do well.
You've mentioned Philadelphia quite a bit.
Philadelphia is one that's mentioned. I think Romney got no votes and McCain got no votes. I mean, like, no votes. And Philadelphia is certainly one. You look at what's going on in Chicago. You look at what's going on in St. Louis and many other cities. There's tremendous voter fraud. And how Republican leadership doesn't see that is beyond me.
Trump seemed very relaxed in the interview, and all the questions he seemed to handle pretty easily. Tomorrow he goes to Colorado, another battleground swing state where he's trailing in the polls. And then there's the big debate on Wednesday, moderated by Chris Wallace. And you heard it tonight, Megan. He still thinks the media, collectively, including Fox, is a little bit out to get him, although he says we're better than most. Megan?
Carl, good to see you. Joining me now, former Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson, who's now a Trump campaign advisor. Doc, good to see you tonight. So let's say the system is rigged. Let's just say it is. Why is he going after the Republican leadership for rigging it? Is the Republican leadership rigging the ballot boxes and gearing up the media to be in the tank for Hillary?
No, of course not. I think he's a little bit miffed in terms of why they aren't investigating some of the allegations that have been made in places like Philadelphia, where there are huge numbers that voted for Obama and like zero for Romney.
But that's just, that's just in a few counties. There are all these precincts, I should say, and in some precincts, Romney and McCain got 0 votes, and in other precincts, they got many votes. And in some of these little precincts, it's only like 100 people voting. So it's not that suspicious that the Republican got no votes.
I think the point is that, you know, we obviously, it's too late to do anything for this election, but we should be looking at the integrity of our voting system. I was talking to someone last week who said they went to vote in the last election, and they weren't asked for an identification of any type. You know, those are things that really could easily be rectified. But I think what's really being talked about here is the media and the excessive amount of attention that they've paid to, you know, the allegations against Trump, and almost nothing with these massive things that are going on with the emails and with the leaks with Hillary Clinton. What that is doing is it is saying that that level of corruption, let's just put our heads in the sand. And what is that saying to our children? If we continue to accept corruption, everybody's going to be corrupt.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. As somebody who was up against Donald Trump in the Republican primary season, do you see a difference in the way the mainstream media is covering him now versus the way they covered him back then?
Oh, it's a massive difference. Yes.
What is it?
You know, during the primaries, they were all too eager to hear everything he had to say, and, you know, to put it, you know, in a much better light than they are now. Now they've kind of turned against them and become instruments of the political class. Now, and remember, this election is not about Democrats and Republicans. It's about the political class versus the people. That's where the real difference is, and that's the reason that I actually think that Trump is going to win, because I think the American people are actually wise enough to see what's going on. They recognize that the media is very biased.
You know, having benefited from some inherent bias of the media to promote the ratings machine, as he calls himself, in the primary season, is he really in a position now to complain when they cover him just as much now, but the coverage tone has shifted markedly? And I might add, predictably.
Certainly, it would be wise at this stage, at this late stage, to really concentrate on the issues, because you know, the differences between Trump and Clinton on some of the major issues that affect our society are gigantic, and yet people aren't getting a chance to hear about that, and they need to hear about it so they can make an intelligent decision.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been interesting. There is, I mean, it has been pretty marked, I mean, the difference between the primary coverage, as you of all people know, versus the general election coverage, but that was never going to be a mystery. That did not come as a shock.
It also shows you how much power they have. It shows you how much power the media has.
They do.
And I continue to plead, particularly with young journalists, to bring some integrity back. It would help us as a nation tremendously.
Great to see you, Dr. Carson.
You too, Megan.